Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Carter Jr. with Virginia State Small Farm Outreach Program, and welcome everybody to Farmers Market Readiness Preparation Workshop, our third in our four-part series in partnership with Virginia Farmers Market Association. We thank you for joining us today. We look forward to Dr. Kim Hutchinson sharing and her guests sharing various information in terms of farmers market preparedness. We hope you enjoy. Dr. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the opportunity to partner with VSU and the Small Farm Outreach Program to bring farmers market preparedness to all of you that are joining us today. As Michael said, this is the third in a four-part series on where we are looking at issues that impact farmers that can provide you with tools and resources in order to get you ready to sell your product, to sell it retail in a farm store, farm stand, farm market, or hopefully one of our farmers markets here across the state of Virginia. Today, our topic is, it is food safety. And I have invited a food safety and Virginia Grown and Virginia Finest. And I've invited a variety of guests that represent different sectors that are the folks that you need to be working with in order to sell a food product here in Virginia. So I'm very excited about that. The format for today is we're going to have four speakers. We're going to have representatives from Virginia Department of Agriculture Food Safety. We're going to have Virginia Grown, Virginia Finest. We're going to have Virginia Department of Health, as well as we're going to have Virginia Extension, Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia Tech, talk about food safety, give you tools, resources, samples of what is being done, signage, et cetera, as well as how you can become a Virginia Grown or Virginia Finest organization here in Virginia. I would ask if you have any questions to please not interrupt audibly, to put them in the chat box, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, and we will ask the speakers as they finish up their presentations, the questions. And so we will make sure that we get all of the questions answered during today's presentation. As Michael said, this is the third of our presentations. Our last presentation, the fourth that we will be doing, is March 11th, and we encourage all of you to sign up for that. That is how to tell your story. It's going to be marketing and branding, how to craft and tell your farm story on both websites, social media, creating a marketing and branding plan, et cetera. So we encourage you to sign up for that, and we thank you for all of this, for participating with us throughout this program series. Our first speaker today is Cindy McDowell with Virginia Department of Health. And Cindy, do you need to share screen?
Yeah.
Okay. While you're doing that, I will introduce you, if you don't mind. Cindy McDowell is currently the Environmental Health Manager for the Roanoke City Allegheny Health Districts. In her current position, she oversees all environmental health programs, food, well, and septic, pools, campgrounds, tourist lodging, and rabies. She's worked for the Virginia Department of Health for almost 27 years in several different capacities. She began her career at VDACS working as a medical technologist in the lab, and then transitioned into environmental health, where she has served the district standardized officer in charge of training food staff supervisor over the food program, and finally environmental health manager. She has a BS in biology from James Madison University. It is now my pleasure to introduce Cindy.
Can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Okay. I'll have to figure out how to get it on here.
I think you have to open it and then click share screen, open the presentation, then click share screen, and it'll pop up if it's open on your desktop.
Now, can you see it?
Yes, you're in PowerPoint mode.
Yeah, let me.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself as y'all see and have questions based on Cindy's presentation. Again, put them in the chat box. Thanks, Cindy. Take it away.
Okay. I want to thank you for inviting me to talk with you. I am filling in for Perry Pearson, who is our state food consultant. She couldn't be here today. I'm going to talk about the Virginia Department of Health's role at farmers markets and provide an overview of food safety at the market and a COVID-19 update. I'm going to start by providing an overview of the Virginia Department of Health Memorandum of Understanding, so MOU, with VDH and VDACS. The purpose of this MOU is to clarify VDH permit and inspection procedures for food vendors operating at a farmer's market. Of course, we always want to promote the highest level of public health and safety protection. And we want to ensure efficient use of state resources. By clarifying the role of VDH at the farmers market, we can avoid duplication of VDH and VDACS duties that is not only burdensome to farmers and VDACS inspected food manufacturers, but also as an inefficient use of the agency's resources. This MOU specifies that vendors offering certain products at farmers markets that are regulated by VDACS or another entity, or that are exempt from regulation by VDH or VDACS, are not required to obtain a food establishment permit from VDH when operating at a farmer's market. This MOU does not rescind VDH's authority to permit and inspect any food service facility otherwise subject to VDH regulation. The inspection authority of VDH and VDACS may overlap with respect to food products offered at farmers markets. But in general, VDACS is going to be responsible for inspecting all products offered at farmers markets, all establishments which manufacture, sell, expose, or offer food and drink products for sale. VDH, on the other hand, is going to be responsible for inspecting any place where food is served to the public, whether on or off premises, and any place where food is prepared. Under this MOU, vendors who offer products subject to VDACS inspection, products subject to other agency inspection authority, or products exempted from either VDACS or VDH inspection will not be permitted and inspected by VDH when operating at a farmer's market. So let's go over the procedural agreement is going to provide some specific examples for this. So farmers market vendors who are not going to be regulated by VDH are going to include vendors that offer food produced using a method or facility already inspected and approved by VDACS. This is going to include vendors selling packaged foods or providing samples of food products produced in home processing facilities and commercial kitchens, such as baked goods, acidified foods, nuts, candies, vinegars, jams, and jellies. Also, vendors that offer packaged food products or samples of those products, including meat, poultry, milk, juice, game animals, eggs, acidified foods, nuts, seeds, fruits, jams, jellies, and processed vegetables produced at a manufacturing plant subject to inspection by another agency, including the USDA. And then finally, products that are exempt from VDACS and VDH regulations. So I'm not going to go into this next part. You can't see the text because the products that are exempt from VDACS inspection, Pam Miles is going to speak after me, and I believe she's going to cover this, so I'm not going to spend time on this part. But products that are going to be exempt from VDH inspection are going to be when vendors are offering their own farm-produced products directly to consumers for their personal use, which would include farmers providing sliced fruits and vegetables, cooked fruits and vegetables, cooked and prepared meat, poultry, eggs, fish, and game animals. Okay, also under this MOU, vendors who offer food to the public and who conduct operations beyond what's specified in this procedural agreement of this MOU are going to be subject to VDH regulation and must obtain a VDH food establishment permit to operate at the farmer's market. Typically, they're going to fall under two categories. It's either going to be a mobile food unit, or they're going to have what's called a temporary food establishment, and they'll get a permit for that. So I'm going to go over these two basic types of permitting that we do. So first, we'll talk about the mobile food unit. A mobile food unit is a food establishment mounted on wheels that's readily movable from place to place at all times during operation. This is going to include push carts, trailers, trucks, vans. The unit and all its operations and all equipment have to be integral to and within or attached to the unit. The mobile food unit permit is issued by the local health department that permits the commissary if they need a commissary. Or if they don't need a commissary, then it'll be the health department in which the operator resides. A mobile unit that comes from another state is going to have to get a Virginia permit. So we're not going to recognize their permit here in Virginia. The permit that we issue is good for a year, and they renew their permits annually. So inspections of mobile food units are conducted based on their risk category. And the risk category is determined by the food safety risks associated with the types of food processes the operator uses to prepare the food. We also consider their compliance history. The mobile food unit permit is a sticker. So the sticker that you see in this bottom left-hand corner of the slide, that's what you should see on the mobile unit. It should be affixed to the unit near the customer service area. The expiration month is either going to be blacked out, it may be circled, and of course the year there is the year that it expires. And it should also have information about the owner, operator, and the local health department in that section at the bottom. Some local health departments do have local ordinances as well that require local permits for the mobile units. So the other type would be a temporary food establishment, and that is a food establishment that operates for a period of no more than 14 consecutive days in conjunction with a single event or celebration. Okay. At a temporary food establishment, all food preparation must occur there at the temporary food event. So for a temporary food establishment, applications need to be submitted at least 10 days prior to the event. I would recommend contacting your local health department for their application because the applications are going to vary from health department to health department. The permit may be issued for multiple occurrences of an event for up to a year. Again, there is going to be some differences in health departments. There are some that will issue the permit for the calendar year. Some will do it for a year from when you got your permit, and some will just do it for the event. So there will be some differences there. The permit must be posted where it's visible to the public. The food establishment with a valid permit, if we have a food establishment with a valid permit already, such as a restaurant, they can operate at a temporary food event and they don't need an additional permit. They do need to notify the local health department to let them know that they're going to be at a temporary food event, but they're not going to require another permit for that. Okay, so we conduct inspections of these temporary food establishments really and the mobile units based on risk category, just like we do for the brick and mortar restaurants. An inspection is required prior to the issuance of the permit, and then subsequent inspections are conducted at intervals determined by the risk category assigned, as well as the compliance history of the establishment. So we've got 3 different risk categories for temporary food establishments. The risk category 1 is going to be non-TCS, TCS meaning temperature and time control for safety foods, or commercially packaged TCS foods served in manufactured original package. So an example would be like ice cream bars or kettle corn. A risk category 2, they're going to be doing preparation of ready-to-eat food with no cook step, or reheating commercially processed foods for same-day service. So examples would be tuna salad, barbecue sandwiches, pre-cooked sausage with cooked peppers, pre-wrapped sandwiches, or pizza. And then risk category 3 is going to be complex food operations, which may include cooking, cooling, reheating, hot holding, or preparation of bulk quantities of food. And so basically a risk category 1, we're looking at 1 inspection per year. Risk category 2, we're looking at 2 inspections per year. And risk category 3, we're looking at 3 inspections per year. And the risk categorization of a food establishment is based on the type of food preparation processes used, as well as the compliance history of the establishment. So risk of foodborne illness is going to increase when food preparation processes include more trips through the temperature danger zone. Foods that require no cooking or ready to eat present minimal hazard, whereas foods that are cooked, cooled, and reheated present a higher risk because there are more opportunities for foodborne bacterial pathogens to grow. And it's also important to note that some pathogens, such as viruses and parasites, and even some bacterial pathogens, don't need an opportunity for growth to cause illnesses. And these would include viruses like a norovirus or hepatitis A, parasites such as Giardia or Cyclospora, and bacteria such as a Shiga producing E. coli. They're examples of pathogens that can cause illness by just being present or on or in the food. So this next slide is just, it is on the VDH food safety webpage. There's a link to this, and that just goes over the guidelines on whether you fall in a type 1, type 2, or type 3 classification, depending on what kind of food and what preparation methods you're gonna serve. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is operational requirements for these permitted establishments. And there's going to be, I'm just going to flip through there. There's going to be 5 different ones. Operational requirements for all food establishments permitted by VDH are based on the CDC risk factors for foodborne illness. And there's 5 of those, and you see them listed here. We're going to go through those. No one is planning on getting anybody sick, but we do know that too many preventable foodborne illnesses still occur. When food establishments have adequate controls in place over the 5 risk factors, the risk of causing a foodborne illness is greatly reduced. So by reviewing proposed operations with the establishment operator as part of the application plan review process, we're able to go over all of these risk factors and try to make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to. It just reminds them of the risks that they need to be concerned about. So we're going to talk about these 5 sources of food, employee health and personal hygiene, which is going to cover employee health, hand washing, no bare hand contact with ready to eat food, cooking of raw animal foods, holding temperatures for TCS foods, and finally, operations will be assessed to ensure that surfaces and wares are cleaned and sanitized, and operations are conducted in a manner that prevents cross-contamination from raw animal foods. And of course, just the general sanitation requirements will also be looked at, make sure there's no other food safety hazards. All right, so we're going to start with the first one, which is going to be our approved sources of food. I've got one more slide there. Okay. So our code number 270 says food shall be obtained from sources that comply with law. And this means that food served in permitted food establishments must come from sources under inspection by the entity that has jurisdiction over the product. This could be a federal agency like USDA or FDA, or it could be a state agency like VDACS or VDH. Foods prepared in a retail food establishment can only be sold to the end use consumer. Food establishments must obtain foods from establishments that are regulated as manufacturers. Some foods that wouldn't meet the approved source requirement include recreationally caught fish or shellfish, custom processed meats, wild game that wasn't processed under voluntary inspection. Specific requirements apply to other foods such as packaged juice, dairy products, and eggs. There's not a source requirement for most fruits and vegetables unless the producer has sales that require them to meet the requirements under the Produce Safety Rule and the Food Safety Modernization Act. Can't get that out. Right, let's move on to the second thing, which is going to be our employee practices and personal hygiene. And this is basically, you can see like a 3-footed stool. We've got employee health, hand washing, and no bare contact. So the environmental health specialist is going to also assess compliance for these. They're going to make sure that employees are aware of the employee health reporting requirements, that they know what symptoms they're required to report, if they're ever diagnosed with certain illnesses, or if they're ever exposed to other people that have those illnesses. And then whoever's in charge needs to be able to follow the restrict, exclude, and return to work protocols. Hand washing, as we know, is one of the most important things, and it's going to be required at a temporary event, just as it is in a brick and mortar facility. And we also want to make sure that employees are going to avoid bare hand contact with ready-to-eat foods. Okay, so here's some pictures of temporary hand washing setups at temporary events. So they're going to look a little different than what we're accustomed to. And whereas the building code requires plumb facilities, this is just a more temporary type facility, such as a water container with a free-flowing spigot that has a catch bucket underneath where we can wash our hands. And we still have to have all the same hand washing supplies, regardless of the type of food establishment. We've got to have soap, we've got to have paper towels, and we've got to have hand washing signage. If a temporary food event is handling raw animal product, then a heated source of water may be required as well. Okay, for number 3, we're going to talk about the adequate cooking of raw animal foods. So all raw animal foods have to be cooked to the required minimum temperature and time. And that is going to kill the vegetative pathogens that can create illness. If you can see in this picture, this is a great thermometer to use. You do want to make sure that the vendor has a properly calibrated thermometer, and also that they do know the proper cooking temperatures for each food item that they're going to be cooking. Okay. The fourth thing is the proper holding temperature of TCS food. So TCS foods need to be held at proper holding temperatures. For cold food, that's going to be 41 degrees or below. For hot food, it's going to be 135 degrees or above. And also, if they're doing any kind of cooling, reheating, or they're using time as a public health control, they need to know the proper temperatures for that as well. Cold holding can usually be accomplished by either using a refrigerator or coolers with ice or dry ice. The food just needs to stay at 41 or below. Hot boxes, cooking equipment, or Cambros can be used to keep hot food hot. Occasionally at these events, since they're short, they might use time control, and if they do that, they have to have a written procedure for that. And typically that just involves holding the food. It starts at the correct temperature and you hold it for 4 hours and then you discard it unless it's all gone. Okay, and then the fifth thing is clean and sanitize wares and surfaces. The environmental health specialist is also going to ensure that surfaces and wares are cleaned and sanitized, and operations are conducted in a manner that prevents cross-contamination from raw animal foods. And as you can see on the picture on the right, this is a pretty typical setup for a temporary food event. It's wash, rinse, and sanitize in 3 different containers. So the soapy water in the left one, the middle one is just plain water, and then they have their sanitizer solution in the right one. And so for the sanitizers, they're going to have a means of testing the sanitizers they use. So they need to have some sort of test kit. Typically the sanitizers are either going to be bleach, and the 2 left ones here are test strips for bleach, or they're using a quaternary ammonia product, and the test strip for that is the one on the right. And in general sanitation, we also have to look at that and address that if there's another food safety hazard. And then water needs to be from an approved source as well. And the containers and hoses used to convey the water need to be food grade. Now, of course, when we've got all this, we're going to have wastewater, and we're going to have to properly dispose of the wastewater. It could include a catch container like you see at the top here, or like we saw in the previous picture with the hand washing where they've got a bucket underneath. And that can be disposed of in a sanitary sewer on site, or they may take it with them and dispose of it at a site that they have arranged to do that. Wastewater, including ice draining from storage containers such as coolers, may not be disposed of on the ground or in the storm drains. Typically, most of the temporary events, if they're a large event, they're going to arrange for a place for the vendors to dispose of their wastewater. Okay, so what do we need to know as far as the farmers markets and working with the local health department? In general, the local health department would like to know when and where the markets are going to operate. Some of the health departments have local ordinances with requirements that are more stringent than the state requirements. Some of them want a list of vendors and information on the permit status of those vendors, and some are going to have coordinator forms. This is going to vary between localities. So my recommendation is to contact environmental health in your locality and find out what information and what forms that they require, because not everybody is going to be the same. We do recommend that the farmers market managers make sure that vendors that need a permit are going to have one before they allow them to open or operate at the farmers market. Okay, we are on the downside here. So we're just going to go over a little bit about COVID-19 and farmers markets. So Executive Order 72, which is our most recent one, and actually on March 1st, will begin the 3rd amended Executive Order 72. The first one started December 14th of 2020. Under the executive order, there are guidelines for all businesses, and then there are specific guidelines for the farmers markets and also restaurants and beverage establishments. There are lots of resources for these. You can look these up. The VDH webpage has resources for businesses as well, and there's a link on there for case reporting in case you do have a positive COVID case. And then there's a signage toolkit, which also provides some printable signs in multiple languages if you need that. So under Executive Order 72, farmers markets have been allowed to operate, providing that they comply with the guidelines for all business sectors and the sector-specific guidelines for the farmers markets, which include, but is not limited to, the following. So employees and patrons must maintain at least 6 feet of physical distancing between individuals who are not family members at all times. Employees and vendors must, where possible, configure operations to avoid congestion or congregation points. And it's recommended that you provide the visual aids to help the patrons remember that they need to maintain their distance from one another. It's also required to have enhanced workplace safety practices. There's signage that's required reminding workers and patrons to stay home if they're sick or exposed to someone who is sick. And then employees and vendors must wear face coverings over their nose and mouth while working at their place of employment. This has changed. It's been a little while since this changed, but it is required even in the outdoor setting for the employees and the vendors. Patrons need to also wear face coverings over their nose and mouth according to Section 2 of the executive order. Farmers markets must promote frequent and thorough hand washing, including by providing employees, customers, visitors, the general public, and other persons entering into the place of employment with a place to wash their hands. If soap and running water are not immediately available, then you need to provide hand sanitizers. If any such business cannot adhere to these requirements, then it must close. And finally, I think this is the we're almost to the end here. Enhanced cleaning and disinfecting. Disinfecting point of sale keypads and other similarly touched items between each use, and disinfecting other high contact areas routinely, so at least every 2 hours. It is important to note that disinfecting and sanitizing are not the same thing. Disinfecting is going to use a higher strength chemical that may leave an unsafe residue on food contact surfaces. So if you disinfect a food contact surface, you need to follow up using the wash, rinse, and sanitize process. And it's just important to always follow the label instructions on the chemicals that you're using, so you make sure that you're using them properly. And then the section in the executive order, there's a best practices section as well, that include pre-packaging produce using low, no-touch payment systems, and then discouraging vendor sampling, and that helps to minimize congregating areas. And that sums it up. I think I've got my contact information as well as Perry's. You know, I can answer if there's any questions. I'll do my best to answer them. But also, if you have any other questions or after I have to get off, you can either email either Perry or I.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I know this is a lot of information. If I could, Cindy, get you to send me your slide deck, and we're going to post all of the presentations as well as the recording on our website so that y'all can access it afterwards. We also will, as well as having an evaluation link in the chat box that we would like for all of you to fill out, we will have everybody's contact information in the chat box. But does anybody have any questions while we have Cindy? I know she's got another commitment, has to hop off. No, thank you, Cindy, so much. I appreciate you stepping in for Perry. I know that she's out doing vaccinations and working on the inoculation process across Virginia. So thank you so much for stepping in for her. You did a great job, and it was very informative. If you wouldn't mind shooting me your slide deck, that would be greatly appreciated.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So here in the state of Virginia, as you all know, it's a very complicated business to sell a food product. And you have to work with both the Department of Health as well as Department of Agriculture and other organizations. So we've invited as many folks to come and speak with you today in order to give you the overview, and we'll provide you with all of their contact information, all the presentations, et cetera, at the end. So our next presenter is Pam Miles, who is with the Virginia Department of Agriculture Food Safety. Pam is currently the program supervisor for Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services Food Safety Program. She is always my go-to person for any of the crazy questions we get. In her current position, she directs a statewide food safety program, providing supervision, direction, and support to all program staff, including food safety specialists who are responsible for the inspection and the ongoing monitoring of all food manufacturers, food retailers, and warehouses in the Commonwealth. She has worked for VDACS Food Safety Program for 32 years, and she is a graduate with a BS in Food Science from Purdue University. Pam, do you want to slide your, share your screen?
Yes, just a moment.
Thank you so much.
Can you see it?
Yes, you're in the presentation mode, PowerPoint mode rather.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to.
Oh, there
Okay.
you go.
Can you,
Yes,
you don't see my notes, correct? You just see the screen.
correct. You're perfect.
I actually had I'm just going to share with you all real fast. I had a presentation recently where at the end they all told me, we saw your notes the whole time. So yeah. Great.
I would let you, I'd give you a heads up. You're good.
Thank you. Yeah, they did last time. So anyway, just good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be with you this afternoon, and want to thank Kim for asking me to take part in this panel today. So I am, whoops, just a moment. Uh-oh. Hold on, people, just a moment. I just messed up my slides. Sorry about that. So I'm going to touch on today the requirements for selling products under VDACS jurisdiction at the farmers markets. Sorry, folks, part of my screen disappeared. So next slide. If you want to sell products at the farmers market, food products, then you need to make sure that they're made in an inspected or permitted kitchen, unless the home kitchen exemption is followed. And Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, VDACS, inspects homes and community kitchens. And the Virginia Department, yes.
You're in PowerPoint mode again.
Oh, sorry, folks. I told you I shot something and it messed it up. Sorry about that. Thanks
You're
for telling
back
me.
now. Thank you. I'm sorry for interrupting.
I'm glad you told me that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go here. Let me start right back here. So all food products that are made in an inspected or permitted kitchen, they have to be made in an inspected or permitted kitchen that's sold at the farmer's market unless the home kitchen exemption is followed. And I'll go over those home exemptions in a little bit. So the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, VDACS, inspects home and community kitchens, and the Virginia Department of Health permits restaurants and temporary events, as Cindy just went over with you. So if you want to start a new business and you want to make packaged food products that are labeled manufactured foods in your home, and you want to sell them at the farmers markets, you need to go to our website. We have our link here, and we have an application for you that you would fill out to get started. On this slide is also our phone number to reach out to us to ask any questions. On our website, we have how-to documents that outline the application process and what to expect during an inspection when we come to your home to make an inspection. And then we also have a commercial kitchen processing operation guidance. And if you're going to make your food in a commercial kitchen, we also have that application too. So if you go to this web page, you will have links to all of our applications and links to our laws and regulations. And you can submit your application. We have a food safety website on that website, or you can call our office, and we'll also mail you an application too. So next on the application process, once you get the application filled out, and like I just said, you can submit that home or commercial kitchen food processing application packet to our website at foodsafety@vdacs.virginia.gov that's listed here. And again, as I mentioned, all of our applications are available on our website, or we'll send it to you, email it to you, or mail it to you. And your package shall include all business information and zoning approval. We want a food processing and storage area diagram of the home, and a product list and planned distribution of what you're planning to sell. An ingredient list, ingredient source, and recipes for your products. And we're looking at the recipes to make sure you're making the product safely. We have folks that'll put trade secret on those recipes. We're not sharing them. We're looking at them for food safety on how the products are being made. And again, you want to include labels for each of these products. After the application review is complete, a food safety specialist will contact you to set up a pre-operational inspection. So it's not unannounced. They will call you to set up this inspection at the beginning. And approval to sell your products at the markets is granted following the satisfactory completion of the inspection by our food safety specialist. And next, I'm going to go over home kitchen exemptions that Cindy briefly mentioned. So the home kitchen exemptions is in our Virginia food law. And the exemptions in the law state that certain firms can be exempt from our inspection, but they still have to comply with our laws and regulations. And here on this slide is a link for a fact sheet on the home exemptions. The first category of foods that you can make in your home, and they do not have to be under inspection, routine inspection by VDACS, are the low-risk foods. And they actually list them out. I'm not going to go over each one of these, but if you go to our website, we have this information on this list of products. But these low-risk foods can be made in your home without inspection. Now, if you want inspection, well, I'll go over that in a minute, but these foods can only be sold at the farmer's market or in your home. We will inspect if you want an inspection, if you want to sell it to other places such as restaurants and grocery stores, or you want to sell them over the internet. But if you just want to sell them at the market, you can make these low risk foods without being under inspection. So the next exemption is for acidified foods. So you can make home canned foods in your home and not be under inspection, but these home canned foods can only be acidified vegetables such as pickles. This is the only product that you can make that's acidified and not be under inspection, which is acidified vegetables, again, such as the pickles. So here you see the pH of the product has to be 4.6 or lower. You have to monitor it with an electronic pH meter to ensure that those products are 4.6 or lower. That's very important. And you can only have a total gross annual sales not to exceed $3,000 for all your acidified products produced if you want to remain under this exemption. And you have to comply with the federal regulations, Code of Federal Regulations 114. And these regulations are to help you produce a safe acidified product. Again, you have to comply with the regulations, but you would not be under routine state inspection. And this category does not include the following. It does not include canned fermented foods, canned foods that require refrigeration, canned acid foods, canned fruits, or low acid canned foods such as green beans, potatoes. It's very specific to acidified vegetables. So as I mentioned, we have those two exemptions of low risk foods and the acidified foods, and you have to follow these additional requirements to meet that exemption. So if you want to make one of those food products, you have to make sure the products are made in your home and sold directly to the end user from your home, so to the end consumer or at a farmer's market. And we get those questions all the time. The only place these exempt foods can be sold again is from your home. And right now, today, we're talking about at the farmer's market. And it cannot be sold to other business for resale, such as I mentioned earlier, restaurants or the grocery stores. And they cannot be offered for sale over the internet or across state lines. And one thing it's good for you to make sure at the farmer's markets, these products have to be labeled where it can be seen on the principal display panel with the name of the product, the physical address and telephone number, the date of the food production, and the statement, not for resale, processed and prepared without state inspection. So it's the name of your business, your address and telephone number, date the product was produced. And again, it's very important to have that statement, not for resale, processed and prepared without state inspection. And standard food labeling information is still required. So in our Virginia food law, it is a requirement that you have the name of the product, you have a net weight, and you have the list of ingredients. That's also required on the products. And we have one additional exemption that was added to our food laws, and it's for honey. And it's a little bit different than the other ones. So the honey, it includes only pure honey. You're not adding flavorings or herbs. It's just pure honey. If you only sell 250 gallons or less a year, you can sell it and not be under VDACS inspection. The product has to be labeled, processed and prepared without state inspection, and warning, do not feed honey to infants under 1 year of age. And again, as I mentioned on the previous labeling, standard food labeling information is still required. You have to state the product, honey, a name and address of the processor, and also a net weight. And the difference with this exemption, you can sell this anywhere. And it's different with the other two categories I mentioned. There's no restriction on wholesale or retail. So if you're producing honey, 250 gallons of honey or less a year, you can be exempt from inspection. So what rules apply? If you're inspected by VDACS or even exempt from our inspection, and from what I just talked about, the regulations must be followed. So you still have to comply with the Virginia food laws. You still have to comply with 21 CFR 117. It's our current good manufacturing practices. And those are adopted. We adopt those from Food and Drug Administration, as well as 21 CFR 101 food labeling again. And I'm going to go over food labeling in a minute that we adopted from the Food and Drug Administration. And other regulations depending on type of the food. We have regulations for seafood, acidified food, juice, and dietary supplements. So businesses grow. So if we come to your home and we start inspecting you for different baked goods and you decide you want to start making salad dressing, you need to let us know and you need to submit those recipes to us. Again, with your original application, you need to make sure that you send us a new application and send us the recipes anytime you add a product. In addition, like I said, if you're making baked goods and you switch, it's very important that you give us your new recipes. So next I'm going to go over mandatory labeling requirements. So on your products at the market, or if you're under inspection, you aren't required to have this labeling, but we're talking about the market today. You have to have the statement of identity, the common name of the product, an ingredient statement, and the ingredient statement also includes sub-ingredients and allergens. And as I mentioned earlier, you need a net quantity statement in standard and metric units. And you need to have the name and address of your firm. And it says here, name and address of manufacturer, packer, or distributor. And we have a sample label here, for example, for the chocolate chip cookies. So again, your name and address of business. It has to be placed together with the ingredient statement and the nutrition facts panel. You need a full street address, no substitute. The only exception is if the firm is listed by your business name in a public directory, then you can just use the PO box or just the city, state, and zip. But if it's not, you need to have your full street address on the label. Ingredient list. So it's not required for, I mentioned honey earlier, for a single ingredient food like honey, but if you do have more than one ingredient, you have to have an ingredient list, and it's ordered from the heaviest to the least heaviest of your ingredients, and sub-ingredients are included in parentheses. So if you have sub-ingredients of an ingredient, they have to be included in parentheses in that ingredient list. So nutritional labeling requirements. Packaged foods and dietary supplements must bear nutritional labeling unless they qualify for an exemption. And most of the home ops do qualify for the exemption because they're small enough and they're not required to have nutritional labeling. So if you have less than 10 employees and less than 10,000 units sold per year, then you do not need to file for an exemption. If you have less than 100 employees and less than 100,000 units sold, you file for the exemption. You're still exempt, but you have to file for an annual exemption with FDA. Now, if you want to make any health claims and you say that your food is low-fat cookies, if that's even, or low-fat muffins or sugar-free, if you make those statements or claims, then you're required to have a nutritional label. But if you're not, most of the home ops will be exempt from that, having the nutrition facts panel. And send your label in for review. We've had a lot of folks that go ahead and get these labels printed and then they're not right. We don't want you to go to that expense. So we really would like for new businesses, please send them in. We have technical specialists, our regional managers that will look at these labels before you get them printed. We don't want them to be wrong and you have spent that money on those labels. So please send them in before you print them for us to review. So we get questions about eggs. I just want to go over the egg law. So you can sell up to 150 dozen of eggs per week of your own eggs and up to 60 dozen eggs per week of another producer's eggs without inspection. And if you have your eggs at the market, you need to make sure they're clean, unbroken, and free of dirt and manure. You want to make sure those eggs at the market are refrigerated at 45 degrees or below at all times. So you need to have them in a cooler. You don't want them sitting out on your table in the sun. Keep the eggs in a cooler with ice packs or whatever you need to do to make sure you're keeping those eggs at 45 degrees or below. Your cartons of eggs need to be labeled with name and address of the producer packer, the word eggs, the safe handling instructions, and you can see that at the bottom of this slide, what it needs to say on the package. And you can either use the term ungraded, you can use ungraded, and if you use that appropriate grade, you need to make sure that it is the right grade. And below here, we have a link when you get these slides on how you can grade your eggs. And fresh eggs can only be used if the eggs are graded. So if you have on your carton and you say they're fresh, those cannot be used on ungraded eggs. So we get a lot of questions about industrial hemp. So the Virginia industrial hemp only allows for the possession of the industrial hemp plant material by the persons registered pursuant to the law. And here's a link for you to go on our website. And we actually have our policy office in our department. There is a program in our department where you do register if you want to allow you to have possession of industrial hemp. So industrial hemp is any part of the plant cannabis sativa, whether growing or not, with a concentration of THC that is no greater than 0.3%. So the sale of hemp leaves, flowers, or microgreens to an individual who is not registered as a hemp grower, dealer, or processor is not permissible under the law. And it's ultimately a question for law enforcement. And I think Kim has asked me that question. I think you'll see at the markets where people are selling the hemp flowers or the leaves or the microgreens, and it's not allowed at this time. So industrial hemp. Our program inspects processors of industrial hemp-derived extracts intended for human consumption. We currently have 17 firms under inspection that are allowed to sell their hemp extracts in the state of Virginia. And we can share that link, and I have before with Kim, if you want to know who those inspected hemp extract producers are, because they are allowed to be sold at the markets. And again, they are under our inspection. And we have a specific application on our website. If you know of anybody that wants to make a hemp extract, or any of you, here's the application. And there's also a how-to document that outlines the application process and what to expect during an inspection. So an industrial hemp-derived extract may be sold as a standalone product. So it can, for example, CBD oil. If you want to add it to one of your manufactured foods to sell at the market, you need to submit a home or commercial kitchen application, and you have to provide documentation to us that the hemp extract comes from an approved source. And that's one point that's always folks get confused about. They will ask someone to say, is your industrial hemp or is your extract inspected? And they'll say, well, we're registered with our Department of Agriculture, and that registration is not enough. You have to be inspected by a food safety program. So if you're getting your extract from another state, you want to ask them for proof that this product came from an inspected source. It's not just a registration, but they have to be inspected by a food regulatory organization. And industrial hemp-derived extract right now may not be added to foods inspected by VDACS. So if you have your temporary events at the market and you want to add it, for example, to a smoothie, right now they are not recognizing that as an ingredient that can be added. So the only things that can be sold at the farmer's market right now are the extracts themselves that have been inspected, and any manufactured foods that's under our inspection, and you've submitted an application to us and assured to us that that extract has been approved. And then they also right now may not be added to alcohol products, animal feed, which includes pet treats, and spent hemp biomass may not be sold for animal feed. And with FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, the only products now in the United States, across the United States, that can be sold and is generally recognized as safe is whole hemp seed oil, and hemp seed protein. So I'm going to end with that. And if you have any questions for me, here's my phone number and my email address, or any for our whole program. Here's our food safety mailbox. Thank you.
Pam, we had a question while other folks are putting their questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to know if mushrooms that have been flavored with soy sauce and then dried need to be made under inspection.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And where are the, you said mushrooms?
Mushrooms, let me pull the question up again, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find.
Do mushrooms that have been flavored with soy sauce and then dried need to be made under inspection?
Yes, and we want to be sure that the mushrooms are not, there's only certain wild mushrooms that can be, I don't know if they're talking about wild or they're buying the mushrooms from the market. So that's one thing we want to look at, because there are concern with some wild mushrooms. So that's why we want the application, because we want to determine where are they getting the mushrooms and how are they drying it and selling it. So yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Pam? I absolutely adore Pam, and I reach out to her all the time with all these crazy questions, and at least once a month, one of the questions has to do with hemp. So I'm so glad that you addressed it today. I know I asked you constantly. Thank you so much. And if you would shoot me that hemp list again, and we'll make sure we put it we'll attach it with your slide deck too, so that people will know all of the approved sites. I know it's on our website too, but we'll make sure we attach it. And we have contact information up here. She's very accessible and will be happy to answer questions or get you to the right person. Pam, thank you so much. I really appreciate it today. Thank you for saying yes whenever I ask you to come and do these talks. It's really so helpful.
Thank you.
As part of the Virginia Department of Agriculture, I also asked one of Pam's coworkers, Heather Wheeler, if she would come and share with us today information on Virginia Grown and Virginia Finest for those of you that are interested in looking at potentially having a product become a Virginia product, Virginia Finest product, and or how you get the designation for Virginia Grown. Heather Wheeler is the Virginia Grown Program Manager at the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, where she partners with producers, farmers, market managers, farmers market vendors, and buyers across the state of Virginia to promote fresh local products and to enhance the marketing opportunities for those products. In addition to that role, Heather is also the program manager for the Virginia Horse Industry Board and serves on the Virginia State team for agritourism as the agritourism marketing specialist. She has an educational background in business administration, business management, and accounting, and she combines that with a true passion for agriculture and working with those in the industry. Heather also owns Bit of Whimsy Farm in Spotsylvania County, which is home not only to her horses, but is also where she raises dwarf Nigerian and pygmy goats, guinea hogs, chickens, and turkeys. Heather, I'm going to turn it over to you if you would like to screen share now. Thank you.
How are you, Kim?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
And how's Terrence the turkey? I love following him.
Terrence the turkey's doing well. We're kind of past the ice and the snow, so he is out of his pen and can enjoy the sunshine.
Your pet turkey is fabulous.
Yeah, he kind of is he's kind of a local celebrity up here.
And down here too. So
Yep.
thank you for being with us today. And thank you again, Pam. I'm going to mute myself and Heather, let you take it over.
Okay, and can you see my screen? Can everybody see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, you're in presentation mode. You're good.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks.
I'm Heather Wheeler. I am with the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I work in the Office of Promotions, which is located in the VDACS Division of Marketing and Development. So I kind of want to tell you a little bit about our division. Pam is from Food Safety, which is kind of down the hall and downstairs from us, and we're another division within VDACS, and just want to make you familiar with all of us. Within the Division of Marketing and Development is the domestic marketing staff, and there's a staff member located in each of the 6 regions, and I provided the map of Virginia. So if each of these regions, there is a domestic marketing representative who is dedicated to promoting producers and processors in that area and assisting them in making connections so that they can market and sell their products throughout the United States and Eastern Canada. So below, and you'll see on the screen, is a link to that office. So that's where you can go, and you can always email me, and I'm more than happy to put you in touch with that representative in your area. It's also good that if you have a farm or you're processing or producing a specialty food, to reach out to that representative so that he or she knows that you're in the area, so that when we have requests, whether that be from a large retail buyer or consumers, or even a farmer's market manager that reaches out to us that's looking for someone to join them at the market, then we have an idea that you're there and we can make those connections. In addition to the domestic marketing staff, we also have an international marketing staff. And that staff is there to connect our agricultural producers with international opportunities. And I've also included that link there. So I would encourage you, you may be in your startup phase, you may be at midpoint, and you may be at the point where you want to explore some international opportunities, and that would be the office that you would work with. I am with the Office of Promotions, and probably have seen me at other vendor meetings and seen me out at the market in Virginia Grown. I hope that you recognize the Virginia Grown label from out at the market. And then we also are home to Virginia Finest, which is our trademark program for all of our specialty food and beverage products in the state of Virginia. So Virginia Grown, if you're not familiar with the program, is a marketing program that promotes fresh local products to consumers. So on the right-hand side, you'll see our current website, some of the resources that are available there, which also includes a directory that is free for all Virginia agricultural businesses and services to have a listing there. So we do encourage you to participate, to sign up your farm there, even if you're at a market and you're a vendor, to have an independent listing there so we can find you. So a closer look at the website, just 2 things I want to highlight for you. The green arrow on the right-hand side is pointing to where you would go to add or update your listing. And this became really important last year as our markets kind of changed, and some of our farm stores changed hours and operating days, maybe changed your website, added an e-portal or e-commerce portal. So putting your information there just allows the consumer to know how to get in contact with you, when to get in contact with you, and when your availability is. But the second thing is we communicate with our Virginia Grown, with the emails that are there. So last year, it was an unprecedented year. Things sometimes change by the day, sometimes change by the week, sometimes by the hour. So when things that came through maybe it affected a farmer's market, maybe it affected a producer, or specialty food, we actually will go in there, pull out your email, and send you a direct email for any updates. So it is valuable to be there. We don't spam. We're not going to just send you emails every day or every week. The emails that we will send out will communicate to you important news or opportunities just to make you aware of things going on within the agricultural industry. And if there are regulation changes, so that you have that information quickly into your inbox. And then on the left-hand side, if you're not familiar with Virginia Grown, it's a really simple process to get into the system. There's no, you fill out the participation form at the adder, update your listing, we add you into the directory, and now you're a Virginia Grown recognized business. Once you become Virginia Grown, if you visit the link on the left-hand side that I've also highlighted with the green arrow that says Virginia Grown Media Center and Trademarks, this will take you to the page where you can retrieve the Virginia Grown point of sale order form. And from there, you're able to order banners, you're able to order posters, price cards, wrap cards, and tote bags for your farm stand, for your farm, for your market stand, for your farmer's market. So you retrieve the form from there and you return it to us, and we ship those to you. And those are all provided to you at no cost. I would encourage everyone that's on this call, if you need these, to go ahead and send your orders in now. We do get rushed right at the start of farmers market season. So there can be a delay in shipping just because we get quite a few responses. So if you're on today and you want to jump onto the website really quick and get your order in now, it will get you kind of ahead of the rush. In addition to our Virginia Grown program, we also have a partnership with the Farmers Veteran Coalition, and that allows us to have the Homegrown by Heroes certification. And this is to support Virginia veteran farmers. It allows veterans to market their local agricultural products as veteran produced and have consumers recognize the product as being produced by a veteran farmer. We launched the program in 2017. It's been very successful. It's recognized all over the country. And to be a part of this, what our veteran farmers will do is they'll initially sign up with the Farmer Veteran Coalition. And once you have completed your application with the Farmer Veteran Coalition, you will then reach out to us. And then we will provide you with all of the material and all the logos that you need to add the Homegrown by Heroes logo to your products. Our second trademark program in the Office of Promotions is Virginia Finest. This has another team dedicated to it, and it works to promote specialty food and beverages products produced here in Virginia. This program came about in 1989 and has been we work both within the state of Virginia, we work around the country, and it's also we represent it internationally to promote the great things that are being done here in Virginia. Today, Virginia Finest helps contribute to a total U.S. specialty food sales of $140 billion, which is a record high according to the National Specialty Food Trade Association. Virginia Tech did a survey a couple years ago and identified 1,100 craft food and drink firms in Virginia. And of those, about 450, which now this slide is from late last year, we actually have surpassed the 450 number now, but that's the number that's currently a part of the Virginia Finest program. So to promote Virginia Finest, previously prior to COVID-19, and I'm going to talk about the ways we did it before, the ways we're currently doing it now, and what we look at as we move back into the future, where we hopefully can go back into in-person. We have done trade shows across the state of Virginia. We do trade shows across the country, and we do trade shows around the world to promote Virginia Finest products. We've now moved into a virtual series where we allow our Virginia Finest to join from the comfort of their home, from their business, If they have a storefront, they can join from there. So we have traveled to New York. We are in Atlanta for the America's Mart. We go out to San Francisco. And when we go to these trade shows, we take with us Virginia Finest companies, and there's usually a Virginia Finest pavilion. So all of the Virginia companies are together, and we send staff to help promote Virginia and the companies that are with us. So when you're in the Virginia Finest program, you will receive an invite. It's first come, first serve to participate. Virginia Finest usually covers a portion of the cost to participate in these. So it does reduce the cost for these companies to be there. And then we provide some support while you're there. We started this last year. We have another one coming up, and this is the 2021 Virginia Finest Virtual Trade Show Series. The benefits of doing this from a virtual platform is that our companies can generate leads from the comfort of their own home or business. So there's no hotel stays, there's no road travel, there's no packing up all your products and hauling them in a trailer to a different place and set up. You still receive inside access to the buyers, and we're inviting buyers from across the nation. You can invite buyers into your business and share your unique story. So again, you're giving them a very personal look at your business without having to leave your home or your business. So if you're interested in more information, the website is included here. I do believe from the update this morning that this show is full at this point. However, there is a wait list, and we will be offering this again in the future. So once we return back and we're able to do some virtual events, these are some that we have done before that don't require our Virginia Finest to travel around the country. We do a lot of in-state promotion. So we're at the State Fair of Virginia for the 10 days the fair is happening, and we take, I think, 3 to 4 companies a day, and they're in the pavilion. And if any of you've been to the State Fair, thousands of people move through a day. So it gives you exposure to thousands of people from across the state of Virginia that get to come in, see your product, buy your product. You are selling from that event. We partner with the Virginia Wineries Association to do an event with them. We're at the Virginia Farm Bureau Convention. We do Virginia Living and Distinct holiday magazines. We take out ads there to promote Virginia Finest product at holiday seasons. We work with the Virginia Retail Merchants Association. We take 15, I believe, companies to the Virginia Agribusiness Council reception. We are at the Southern Women's Show, the Fire, Flower, and Fork event. And then we also, every 2 years, host a Virginia Finest educational conference for those that are either participating in Virginia Finest or interested to be there. And then the years that we don't have an educational conference, we have our very own Virginia Finest Expo that's hosted in Richmond. And again, we invite buyers from all over the state of Virginia as well as all over the country. So if you're interested in being a Virginia Finest company, this is a little more detailed than Virginia Grown. You can visit virginiafinest.com, and on the front page, there's a how to apply. It'll take you to this screen, and you'll see all of the links here. There are some food labeling requirements. You will work with food safety in Pam Miles's group. You will complete an application and provide information about your product. There is a data sheet that you can download from this site, and then you'll also see some contact information for the program manager there with additional questions. And then finally, this is my contact information. I encourage everyone to ask questions and stay connected. When you do these webinars, and just a huge shout out to Michael Carter at VSU and Kim at VAFMA for pulling these together and providing you guys the opportunity to learn and hear from each of us. But when you do these webinars, definitely take down our contact information. If you call me and I can't answer the question, I will get you connected to Pam, and reach out to Kim if you've got a question. It helps us assist you when you ask the questions, because we now know what you need help, or how we can come back together, do a webinar, send out information to you to help. We're here to support you. And there's no question that's too small. There's no question that's too large. Write down our information. If you call me and it's a food safety question, I will get you over to Pam. Don't hesitate to do that. If you have a question, reach out to Kim. She'll connect us back to us. But I think one of the most important things that you can take away from these webinars is just to take down our information and know how you can reach out to us, and just know that we're here to support you guys. I do want to thank all of you, and our market managers, our staff, and our vendors for all of your dedication last year and your patience as we moved through some unprecedented times. I know it felt like we were on a roller coaster together and we had to learn on the fly, but the innovation and just the support that we saw out there, and you guys continuing to serve your communities and get the fresh food out there to them in a time that they needed to have access to it, was amazing. So I just wanted to thank everybody for doing that, and encourage you to reach out, and however we can help and answer your questions, please do that.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather, so much. Do we have any questions for Heather or Cam? Heather on Virginia Grown, Virginia Finest. I will say that the folks at VDACS are the most responsive individuals, and they will readily find whatever answer you need. Their job is to be there to help you be successful in the agricultural community. And so, reach out to me if you can't remember who it is you need to reach out to. I can guarantee you I don't know all of the answers, even though I pretend like I do, but I am really good at finding people to get that information to you if you can't remember it. So I think if nothing else, the moral of this webinar today is that everybody here wants to help you be successful, and feel free to reach out. And we will be glad to answer whatever questions you have or that come up in the future to help you get your products out to sell. So any other questions for Heather at this time? Heather, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Our last speaker, last but not least for sure, is Dr. Boyer. Dr. Renee Boyer is the interim department head, professor and extension specialist in the Food Science and Technology Department at Virginia Tech. Her research program focuses on enhancing the quality and safety of fresh produce through pre and post harvest interventions, as well as researching, developing, and evaluating education training programs and messages aimed at consumers and other retail food handlers. Dr. Boyer's extension program focuses on food handler food safety education, as well as food preservation. She received her MS and PhD degrees in food science and technology from Virginia Tech. So Dr. Boyer, I see you are in presentation mode and you are ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
I hope I'm ready to go. It seemed to work. Sometimes I have little blips when we try to do this, but it looks like we're going good right now. So we'll see.
Thank you.
We'll see. Yeah, so my name is Renee Boyer, and I really am here representing probably all of cooperative extension. So I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction into sort of what cooperative extension is and how we can help you all in your farmers market endeavors, all of your farmers market endeavors, but specifically what I'll be talking about is food safety, but I can certainly help connect you to others if that's something that you need as well. So Virginia Cooperative Extension really was formed, and any cooperative extension across the US was really formed in order to take the discovery and research that occurs at a land grant institution, in this case, Virginia Tech or Virginia State in the state of Virginia, take the discovery and expertise from those institutions and really disseminate information out to the public. And so this is just sort of a state of Virginia. The state of Virginia, it's broken up into 4 different sections based on, that's a Virginia Cooperative Extension split that we have. But basically what I want to sort of show here is that every state across, or every county, excuse me, across the state, has an extension office. And in those extension offices, there are extension agents whose job is to bring the research and knowledge from the university to the public, regardless of what that might be. And so in some counties, there are folks that are specifically food safety agents. Specifically, I'll sort of make a shout out to Wytheville, down in the southwest district of the state. We have an extension agent there that is our food safety. We call her our area specialized food safety agent. And so she does a lot of work with the counties surrounding Wythe County with food safety. And then up in the northern district, we have Stuart Vermack, who is housed in Loudoun, and he does a lot of food safety outreach, primarily for Loudoun, but he also assists some of the other counties, or some of the other surrounding counties in the northern district. And then in central district, we have Eric Bowen, and he is another individual that is a food safety agent, although he's moved, I think, more into the ag livestock agent, but he has a lot of food safety expertise. And there's others. Those are just a few that I'm sort of talking about. So basically what I'd like to do really quick, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Well, no, I'm going to keep sharing my screen, but I'm going to end my slideshow just for a second so that I can pull. This is our Virginia Cooperative Extension website. It is ext.vt.edu. And if you're trying to identify the agent with the expertise in the locality closest to you, you can do this simply from this website, and you just go down, scroll down and go to need help, find your city or county's local office. And then all of the local offices are hyperlinked here. So you can go through and identify your county, and you can find somebody to reach out to assist you. Now I'll move that back. Let's see if I can do this seamlessly. Oh, from current slide. Oh, look at that. That worked out pretty well. Okay. And so I wanted to show that just quickly so that you all knew where to go to identify the person that was closest to you that could help you with some of these items. Now, not every agent is a one-stop shop for everything that you might possibly need, but the good thing is that we're a very vast network across the state. And so once you talk to one person, they probably know, hey, if I can't help you, I know who can, and I'll send them to you. And at the last case, as you get sort of transferred to the right person to ask, the last case would be the food science department at Virginia Tech, and we're there to help as well. So anyone can feel free to reach out to me at any time, and my contact information is on the slides. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically a little bit of the Virginia Cooperative Extension resources that are available to you as farmers market vendors as you prepare your products to market. And so just to give a little bit of kind of background information about what I'm going to talk about is I've already talked about the extension agents. Those agents across the state, depending on the locality and expertise, of course, from the agent, commonly and routinely deliver food safety trainings to vendors, market managers. They train restaurants. They really train all kinds of folks, consumers, in food safety. And then I have the hyperlink there for the website, so you can go to the website and see if you can identify who is closest to you. The other thing that we have, and I'm going to show as we go through this presentation, is we have a wide variety of fact sheets that have been created over the course of the last 10 years, mostly as part of my program here at the university, but also part of other programs that are really fact sheets for vendors, can help you with just quick tidbits that you need to know in order to get your product ready for sale. And then finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the online trainings that we have. So because of COVID, a year ago, one of the things we had to do was pretty quickly pivot so that we couldn't do a lot of these face-to-face trainings anymore. So we pivoted and converted a number of our trainings to online. And one of them specifically is targeted to food safety or farmers market vendors in food safety. So I'll talk a little bit about that when I get to that point in the presentation. So the first presentation I'm going to talk about is this one, and it's entitled Enhancing the Safety of Locally Grown Produce. And this presentation really was developed out of a partnership from a number of universities across the South region. And what we wanted to do was basically take the complicated might not be the right word, but the more advanced content that produce growers would get from good agricultural practices or other types of higher advanced trainings, take that content and really sort of drum it down to what someone that's growing and selling in the local market really needs to know. And so we created this curriculum. It was initially intended to be delivered via extension agents across the state. We've been doing that for probably about the last 10 years. And just recently they've been updated. I don't know if many of you are familiar, but they have been updated to be in line, not have necessarily the same technical content, but so that the recommendations are in line with the produce safety rule, which is part of the Food Safety Modernization Act. Most folks that are going to be selling at a farmer's market are exempt from that regulation. However, it's always really good for you all to have some training and to understand what the food safety risks are, so that you know how to make mitigation steps on your farm or at your market, your vendor at the market in your vendor booth, in order to try and mitigate risk. And so basically this was the curriculum as it was created about 10 years ago, but we've made quite a few changes in it as we've gone over the last 10 years. Just to give you a little bit of background, what the curriculum contains is a number of modules. There is a food safety on the farm, the importance of land use, water use, manure and soil amendments, hygiene, health and training, toilet and hand washing facilities, harvesting and storage, transporting produce safely, training and certification options. And this is specifically if you have employees. And then it goes into what food safety considerations you need to consider at the market, some current events, and in this day and age, mainly what those current events are related to COVID. And then it goes into some additional resources. And so over the course of the last few years, we've revised the content, and now it's in sort of a more modular form where it focuses on these different types of content. My slides are not moving. Okay, all right. So here's an example of the fact sheets that are part of the curriculum, and all of these fact sheets are available at, and I've got a hyperlink at the bottom, resources.ext.vt.edu. Everything that I show here is available for free in terms of the fact sheets on that website. So you can research, or you can access those by going to the extension site. So this is just an example of what kind of content the fact sheets include that's part of this curriculum. So this particular fact sheet I've put up here for you to see involves farm worker toilet and hand washing facilities. And it basically talks about how to make a hand washing facility on your farm, ways to get around and to create toileting facilities on your farm and things like that. So there's pictures and sort of some additional tips to help you with setup of that if that's something that you need to do on your farm. So this is just an example of one. This series has 13 fact sheets. And then just recently what we've done is we've converted this entire training to online. And this is just sort of shows you what the interface of the online program looks like. But it goes through those same modules that I talked about. And this was created in conjunction with a number of us at Virginia Tech, but then also a number of the agents out in the field that deliver this training on a regular basis when they would do it face-to-face. And so what we've done is we've created a training that you can go through self-paced. And at the end of the training, it gives you what's called in the system a badge. But really what that is, and it's the image that I have up on the top right-hand part of the slide, it's really a certificate that you can then download and print out and display at your market booth if that's important, or to show to your market manager if that's something that's important as well. But it basically shows that you've gone through food safety training. And that's a really good tool to have at your disposal, just to show that you've got that continuing education. So here is just a quick slide that talks about how you can enroll. This particular sort of unrolling of this class began on February 1. So you guys are getting it hot off the presses. And it's going to continue at your own pace. Register whenever you would like. The course fee is $5. The reason for that $5 is not because we're making any money off of it, but it's because we have to pay for the system and we have to pay for credit card processing fees and things like that. So it's really just to recoup those costs. It's not intended to be an expensive training that's out of reach. And we do have some small need-based scholarships if that's a problem. And this training, once you enroll in this training, it will be available to you through December 31st and maybe beyond. This is just our first sort of pilot of the training. And so once you enroll, you will be given access to all of that content and the ability to get that certificate to download. And so in order to register and for more information, there's a link there that's part of that slide. Okay, and then some other things that we've done with that same curriculum is we've taken the content, the same content, and we've created some employee booklets. And I'm looking around me because I know this booklet is here somewhere. Oh, here it is. I wanted to show it in the screen, but this is a training booklet that we have that is in both English and Spanish, and it's available to you at no charge if you would like to have some of these on hand to use to train some of the employees on your farm if you happen to have that. But it's very much created to have a low literacy audience with lots of pictures and descriptors that way, infographics. And so, we had some successes with that program associated with locally grown foods. And so we wanted to transition the work that we had done with the produce sector into the sector of folks that are selling what we're calling in this training locally prepared foods. But these would be any kind of value added foods that you're preparing in your home kitchen and taking to the market to sell. And so we created a series of fact sheets surrounding this sort of format that includes jams and jellies, refrigerated frozen meals, handing out samples, labeling your food, fermented vegetables, refrigerated dips, spreads, dressing, and salads, maple syrup, dehydrated foods, acidified foods, meats, dairy, honey, baked goods, pet foods, eggs. We have an individual fact sheet associated with each of those types of foods that's available at the Virginia Cooperative Extension resource page. And it basically walks you through the steps of what you need to do if you're going to sell that product, that specific product at the market. And it includes a lot of the regulatory information as well. And we created these in partnership with VDACS so that we were sure we could get, the right content out there. And here's just an example of one of the fact sheets that we have that's part of that series. And this particular one is about samples and how to provide samples at the market. And it has pictures and some sort of specific points that you need to know in order to provide samples. Again, these are all available at that hyperlink. And then here's another one that we created. Or actually, these are two. I'm sorry. These are two. This is just the front page of two. We have the one on refrigerated dips, spreads, dressings, and salads. And then we have one on kombucha. And so these are really intended to sort of go through the thought process that you might have if you're trying to figure out what you need to do to sell the product. And so then the other thing that we did, and before I get too far, these are also being converted into an online training format similar to the locally grown produce training that I already have presented to you. It's just not quite ready to unveil yet. So we're working on it. It's coming, but it's not there yet. And then the other thing that we've had to do this last year, especially, is really sort of pivot and try and produce some materials about COVID-19 and how to manage and handle COVID-19 at farmers markets. And so we've created, I think there's probably over 100 COVID-19 fact sheets that we've created on our resource page, but not all of them are applicable necessarily to farmers markets. And so some of the things that I thought might be marketable or might be important for this specific audience involve some guidance in handling for farmers markets, U-pick operations, packing houses, farmers markets, which is the one that's up on the slide, and then roadside stands. So I wanted to highlight that we've gone through and created some of those materials as well. My group did not create these, but I want to highlight them. These were created by Virginia State University, and I think these are great. These are some farmers market signage that you might be interested in downloading and posting at the market or at your booth. And so these are kind of clever, related to COVID-19 and the farmers market sort of theme. So, you know, you'll see the one with the radishes. It says, please keep not radishes, beets. Please keep 6 feet between you and others. The one with the tomatoes, mind your maters, wear your face mask. Lettuce, let us help you, point, don't touch, that sort of thing. Then there's also a downloadable form that's the one on the bottom right. Basically, if you feel sick, please don't shop today. Let us know how we can help. And you can put in there customizable remote ordering instructions if that's something that you have set up and available to use at your vendor booth. Then the last thing I really want to focus on is talking about our food innovations program. And this is a program that we have that provides testing of food products for safety and quality based on many of the microbial parameters that need to be met in order to sell a product in a specific way, whether that be an acidified food or you know, a packaged food, things like that. And so our food innovations program can meet anyone's needs really related to having their food products tested. They oftentimes provide guidance on reformulation. So sometimes someone might send, let's just say, an example of the hot sauce or a salsa in, and it may not meet food safety parameters, and so they may need to reformulate or redo that product design and ingredients in order to make it a safe product. The other thing that we offer is nutritional label calculation services. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I apologize. Hold on. I apologize. I got it muted in time. And so that's another thing that this program offers. And primarily what they do is they do pH testing and water activity testing of products to identify what types of parameters they meet in terms of food safety. My slide is slow again in switching. There we go. So here's some more information about the Food Innovations Program. They provide a number of regulatory assistance. So some of the things that they do is update and train on the Food Safety Modernization Act. If a vendor, which is unlikely, and that's why we've created some of the materials I talked about in the beginning of this presentation. But if that vendor needed to comply with FSMA, we certainly offer larger trainings like that for those individuals. These come at a more significant cost, and they're also quite complicated. This is more related to food manufacturing training. The other thing that we do is we inform clients about potential state and federal regulatory issues. The individual that runs this program is Joelle Eifert, and she works very, very closely with Pam and Perry at VDACS and VDH. So we work really closely with those groups as well. She is an acidified food processing authority. And so what she can do is evaluate schedule processes. So if you give her a recipe and your process, she can evaluate that recipe and process for safety. We're not all at Virginia Tech capable of that, but she's the one that is considered our process authority that does that work. And then also provide scientific rationale behind why the regulations are written the way they are, and those types of things, which is another service that we provide. And this is sort of the final plug that I'm going to make, and this doesn't necessarily pertain to this specific audience, but we also have an online training around home food preservation. And this is folks that are canning in their homes for home consumption. This doesn't necessarily translate directly to foods that could be made available for sale. But we have an online training for home food preservation. This is also under my purview, and it focuses on the science behind why we preserve foods the way that we do: boiling water bath canning, pressure canning, freezing, dehydration, and vegetable fermentation. And we're going to add a module on kombucha. But again, as I mentioned, this does not necessarily translate to how you can sell those foods. This is primarily just for home consumption and home use. And then here's just a quick plug for this particular training if anybody is interested. It's been advertised through our extension agents pretty widely electronically. And I think that's all. That's all I got for right now, but I'm glad to take any questions that anyone might have.
Do we have any questions? If everybody could take a moment to fill out the link that Michael Carter just put into the box, I would appreciate it. In order for us to continue to be able to bring you these types of trainings, we need that feedback from you. We've also put Dr. Boyer's information in the link box. Somebody had asked, well, somebody said, bless you when you sneeze, Dr. Boyer. So
thank you. I appreciate that very much.
You also asked, where will we find the new Unveiled program? And I put the link in the box for the $5 virtual training that's enhancing the safety of locally grown produce growers, farmers market produce vendors virtual program. Is that the training you were asking about, or was there a different training? Ms. Starner.
Probably the enhancing the safety of farmers markets that hasn't been unveiled yet.
Yeah. So there's two. There's one. Both are intended for farmers market venues. One is focused primarily on fresh produce, and so that's a lot of farming practices, water use, land use, things like that would occur on your farm. And that's the one that's available. And I can, if it makes sense, I can send it to Kim, and she can send it out to this list, or however you want to do it. I've got the flyer that might be easy to email out. The other training is for folks that are preparing value-added foods, things like well, it does include meats and eggs, but also acidified foods and frozen foods and fermented foods, those types of things. That one's not available yet. We're close, but it's not been advertised yet. But I can make sure that Kim knows when we do get it up and running.
That sounds great. And we partner with Dr. Boyer in that we are happy to put out all information that she provides, as well as we put it on our website. So we'll pull together a resource for this webinar that has all of the links and the contact information. I'll ask Dr. Boyer also if she'll send me her slide deck with all of the links so you have direct access to all of that.
Absolutely.
Any last questions for Dr. Boyer while we have her? Well, Renee, you were fabulous as always. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, it was great. I want to, again, thank Sydney McDowell with Virginia Department of Health for stepping in for Perry Pearson and coming. She's focused on she's out of the Environmental Health Division. Pam Miles with VDACS Food Safety, Heather Wheeler with Virginia Grown, Virginia Finest, and of course, Dr. Boyer with Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia Tech, and Michael Carter with VSU Small Farm Outreach. Before I turn it back over to him, I'll encourage everybody once again to please fill out the survey that was put into the survey box, and to remind you that the last of this webinar series is How to Tell Your Story. It's March 11th from 1 to 3. We will have Emily Davis with Link House sharing how to craft and tell your farm story. You'll learn about marketing, branding, social media. In addition, you'll hear about different ways to market your business, what works, and more importantly, what hasn't worked in this new market reality. She's great, and I highly encourage you to sign up because it's free and you can't get this kind of information that she's providing without, this is a great opportunity for you to talk to somebody who is very successful at what she's doing. So I'm going to turn it back over to Michael and say thank you again, everybody, for presenting today. Michael?
Thank you, Dr. Hutchinson. We hope everybody got some good information from this workshop here. Thank you for your time. You can, again, fill out the evaluation that's in the link. I think I had a period at the end of the last link, which made it difficult to access the site, so I edited that a little bit. But again, thank you for your time. Give us any feedback in terms of how you like this workshop. Future workshops you'd be interested in coming to related to farmer market preparedness. And if there's any other farmers workshops you'd like to have. Thank you for your time and have a great evening. It's 55 degrees in most parts of the state, so please enjoy it. Get outside. Get back to the land. Thank you much and have a great day.
Just real quick before everybody jumps off, we're looking at doing something on gleaning. If that would be of interest to anybody and as a topic of conversation, please shoot me an email and let me know. Or Michael and I or whatever, but we're trying to put that together. Thank you.
Thank you all, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.